Hello everyone, today is Tuesday, October 20th. As always, I'm your host for Collectibles and Coffee, Edward Nguyen. Today, beverage of choice is black coffee. Lots to talk about today. Today we'll kind of look at, again, discussing the real world kind of applications that the collectible market has in the real world, what lessons we can take from the real world, and how it kind of changes the game for us. Today I do have some mail. I'm gonna open it up just to see so people can take a look at what I've been buying. But the majority of the episode we'll be discussing e-commerce, social media, how these have really changed the face of the collectible industry, have changed the face of investing, what it means for people who are in these circles, and how for you potentially as a business, as a small business, as a retailer, how you can really expand your operations, move beyond just traditional brick and mortar sales. Because let's be real here, in the middle of a pandemic, people are looking for other options. Most things that have appeared to be conventional or traditional to us are just going to be just not applicable because we're in the middle of a pandemic. The world's a very different place than it was a year ago, and we have to adapt. And adapting quickly is going to be how businesses, how retailers are going to survive in the future. And then, as on the flip side, as a collector, as an investor, this is a way you can get on top of it. You can take advantage of the situation and look to expand your investments, your collection, what have you, and really get the most out of your money. So we'll go ahead and get right in. I have two packages. These came in. I kind of opened them. I already know what's inside. I always check. So two packages. These came in. These were purchases I made last week. So they just arrived. They arrived earlier this morning. So we'll go ahead and open them. They're both the same thing. So just two packages from TCG Player. I'm fairly annoyed by this because both of these don't have invoices in them, and for any TCG Player sellers out there, I'm not really sure why you would cut costs in this manner. Of all the ways that people want to cut costs, leaving out an invoice, I think, is a fairly ridiculous thing. One, this envelope is incredibly flimsy. This isn't even a pad envelope. This is just a plain manila envelope that this came in. And there's literally nothing inside the package other than the one card. That's it. It's inside top loader. It's tape over the top of a top loader, which in my mind is also a big no because it can slide around. This is one of the frustrations I have with letting anyone sell on TCG Player. The fact that it's so open, you get fairly poor quality things. This seller, at least the label is printed. It's in a padded envelope, but again, there's nothing securing the card inside. There's no invoice. The card just came in top loader. At least has a team bag. This is similar to how I would ship it, but I ship these things inside team bags so they don't rattle around inside the envelope, because when things are moving around inside the envelope, it is more prone to get chewed up by the post office sorting machine. So that's why I usually tape them down. The invoice is a perfect way to secure them. I use slightly smaller envelopes so they don't really shift around as much. So these two sellers, not too happy about it. My cards came out fine, so I'm not going to really push the issue and leave negative feedback. I know a lot of stores are dealing with having to deal with increased costs in top loaders right now due to supply issues. BCW has announced that they are hiking the price on top loaders, and they're basically permanently on back order at this point. I think if you were to place an order today, the soonest you would be receiving it would probably not be until January of 2021, right? You're looking at a 3-month wait just because of the demand of how many people are trying to buy them versus how many people, versus the company being able to stock them and get them in at an appropriate rate. So that being said, the mail, these two came in. These are, I wish they were base set. These are just Evolution Charizards. I bought these before the spike. I want to say I probably paid about sub $100 for what should be near mint copies. These do look to be pretty clean. These will likely go off to be graded at some point in the near future, but these are two ones that came in. One of them canceled because they had listed it incorrectly. I probably should have just taken it. It was for reverse foil. The listing was for a regular foil. Probably should have taken the reverse foil instead at the price that I acquired it at. Considering how much these things are now. Someone refunded me because they decided that they were going to send it to PSA instead. I left that person a negative feedback. After I made the purchase, they decided that, oh, I'm just going to cancel your order. I'm going to have it sent off to PSA instead of selling it to you. So I left that person a negative feedback as well. Pretty unhappy about that one. And one seller just straight up hasn't shipped yet. It's been more than a week at this point. I suspect that they're just not going to ship. I have a lot of issues with buying from newer sellers like this on TCG. This is one of the things I generally avoid. I wish there was a more strict way to punish them. I probably shouldn't be calling them out by name, but not really the scope of what I'm looking to do here. But these, definitely got these in before the spike, so these will do well. I suspect when they come back from grading, these are both fairly clean. I'll have to take them out of the sleeve to take a closer look at them, but these do appear to be pretty clean. These are good candidates for grading. We'll see how they do. I know that there were some auctions up on PWCC for high graded versions of these Evolutions Charizards, so we'll have to see direction that the market goes on those. It'll be interesting to see how those turn out, but for now, that was my mail that just came in today. I thought that these were worth sharing. I have some other things that aren't particularly interesting, but these two had come in today, worth discussing. Whenever I do send these off, I'll make sure people know, and then obviously when they do come back, I'll do an unboxing video just so people can take a look at what's coming in, what I sent off to get graded, and how they did. So that'll probably be at a later time. So today, to kind of get into meat of our video, we'll just kind of shoot off with some pretty big news this morning. Chris Camillo, he is he's an investor. He is they do part of a stream on YouTube called dumbmoney.tv. Basically, the premise of their channel, the premise of their videos are the three guys who do it, Dave, Jordan, and Chris. They're part of what they consider to be dumb money, in the sense that they don't follow traditional investments like people on Wall Street. They don't look at stocks and whatnot. They do have stocks. They do follow stocks. They do buy stocks. They do invest in stocks. But they will pursue basically anything that potentially has the opportunity to make them money. I just found out about their channel on YouTube earlier this morning after I discovered the article. Bazinga, take a look at it. They basically streamed and they basically discussed that Chris, he had finalized a purchase for a first edition base set booster box. Right, this is Premier Blue Chip. We've been talking about this. The sell price, the price that he paid for it, was $375,000. He is in the Dallas area. There was some buzz last week on Facebook. A lot of people were trying to offer $200,000 for base set booster boxes. They weren't really getting any bites. And then I think he mentioned in his video, his budget, he was trying to pay no more than $300,000, which we have to remember is a 50% increase from the box that Logan Paul bought at Heritage Auctions back in September, probably a little bit more than a month ago at this point. That box with the buyer's premium sold for $198,000. Right now he's paying, Chris is paying $375,000. It's really going to show how much these boxes have increased. They didn't really give the full details. I kind of like browsed through the video. You can look, there's the video, dumbmoney.tv is up on YouTube. That's something that they've been in. That's something that they've talked about. It was streamed live this morning. That was kind of when they dropped the announcement for this. There's an article on Bazinga that kind of goes into more detail about it as well. And this is a big deal, right? This is another example of a high value transaction that's happening. The transaction hasn't happened yet. It's been finalized. They actually mentioned that they're going to stream the actual transaction happening live next week when it goes down. Apparently, they're showing up with a suitcase of cash, and the people with the booster box are coming up with the booster box, and they're basically going to exchange it, undisclosed location, but it will be streamed live next week, which is super interesting. I think that'll be pretty cool. This is simply another example of big money that's getting in. He does say that this will be for charitable causes. I think he's going to be selling off the packs, and basically all the money, not just the profits on it, a la Wizards Coast Secret Lair, what have you. All the money that's being made on the box, that when he opens them up, and he's gonna sell the packs. He's gonna sell the packs out. All those packs, all the money that's being made will be for pediatric causes, so children's causes. That's a big deal. I think this is something that is worth pursuing. This is very, very interesting. But again, even though this is charitable, it is still important to know that this is a transaction. In order to get someone, undisclosed part, they kind of discuss the details of the parties. It's not clear who it is. It seems like the box is owned. There's like three-way equity inside the box. 3 different people own the box, and they have different amounts into the box. Whatever. I'm not completely sure on the details. Again, I didn't really look into it that carefully. I'm sure this is something they'll give more info about over the course of the next week as they try and make the transaction happen. But again, in order for someone to let go of their base set booster box, and this is a base set box that is going to be opened for the packs and sold off, right? So this is one less sealed booster box in the world. It costs someone $375,000, right? This is almost a 100% increase over the record-setting box that was sold less than a month ago, or probably a bit more than a month ago at this point, right? That box a month ago, $198,000. Charlie Herlocker, he was on my stream live. We chatted, we talked about, that was one of the things that we discussed, right? This is, at the time, that was a big deal. A month ago, that was a big deal because that was a record-setting number, and now it's more than, it's almost double that, right? It's almost 100% increase from that price. That's a big deal moving forward. This is going to start setting the precedence for what it takes for people to get rid of these boxes. Chris, just to give some background on him before we go too much further, he is an author, investor, entrepreneur. He's written several books. He is well known for investing in a bunch of startups and a bunch of tech startups. He has the dumbmoney.tv YouTube channel. I've just kind of like skimmed through some videos really quickly. These 3 guys, they really talk about being able to invest into anything. Their scope is, not just, a lot of investors really do fall into a pretty narrow scope in terms of what they invest in. A lot of traditional investors, right, they're looking for things for more traditional means of investing, stocks, ETFs, etc. Kind of your, what you would think of when you think of an investor, Wall Street broker, etc. What these people are doing. But these guys, they really have their hand in anything. They've invested in real estate, in IPOs, startups, right? All these things. Really the full spectrum. And adding Pokemon is just one more thing they're really adding in. Chris mentions that he's not looking at it specifically as an investment, right? All the packs are being sold off, right? He's basically just donating $375,000 by doing this. He's not basically looking to make any of it back, but part of it is they themselves, they basically made some moves in Collectibles Universe, which is the parent company that owns CGC. They own PGC, so coins, right? That grading company, that whole spectrum of grading is owned by this parent company, and then they basically put a huge investment into Collectors Universe, right? And then this goes to show their confidence in the collectibles market. He basically explains that this is something that has really caught on. And this is something that they're looking to move in on. He says that his background, this is his first time owning Pokemon cards. He hasn't really bought anything prior to today. He said he dealt with sports cards. They dabbled with sports cards kind of as a younger kid in the 90s, right? Kind of in the same ballpark that everyone else did, no pun intended. But this is really his first foray into trading cards, into Pokemon. And so he really doesn't really have an idea of what's going on, but for him to show up, right, this is someone, if he's investing in real estate and stocks, he's probably spending way more than this. But in order for someone like him, with basically a bottomless fund with virtually unlimited money, right, in order for him to get someone to let go of a first edition base set booster box, it sent back $375,000, right? And then And then he goes on to say that he believes that there are probably about 40, 70 boxes out there in the world. I don't know where he came up with that number. It's hard to verify that number. Right, we don't really have a good idea of what that looks like. Right, it's possible that right. It wouldn't surprise me if there's like still boxes in some attic somewhere. If there's people that are holding on to them. Of those 40, 70 boxes that do exist, he thinks that there's probably only half a dozen to a dozen boxes of that are actually available. What do I mean by available? In the sense that they could potentially be sold on the market. Because let's be real, a lot of people who have these boxes aren't selling them. There's probably some undisclosed, private collectors that have just a ton of money, and this is one of the pieces that they like to collect, and they will just never sell it. Money is something that has no object to them. I've met quite a few people like this in my life. Money is really no object. A lot of these things, it really comes down to the hunt. And then once they're done with the hunt, once they're done with trying to secure this product, trying to chase their grail, something that is very, very difficult to come across, they just have no intentions of getting rid of it. Right? This scales all the way up. It's not just trading cards, right? Trading cards, collectibles, just kind of a small part of it, right? People are always on the hunt for art. We've had Mike Linneman on here. He has discussed art before. Regarding Magic, right? Some of the art that's out there, some of the art that people buy, people sell. You always hear people talking about, I'm in the market for this piece. This is my favorite card. This is my EDH commander. This card has some significance to me. I like bears. I like cats. I like dogs. Whatever, right? All these people out there, they have a grail. They have that piece that they want. And you hear all the time people just say, I own this piece. It's not for sale. And that's kind of the nature of these super high-end collectibles, of these things to these people where money is no object. And some of these people, right, they have no real reason to, right? Like, even it doesn't matter that this box has gone from $198,000 to $375,000. What does it mean when the next box, like, what does that do for the next box that is publicly transacted, right? Like, what does that number look like? The people that are holding on these boxes, like Chris mentions, right? Most of these people have no intention of getting rid of their boxes, because making an extra $200,000, $400,000, whatever, it probably means nothing to them. And they just have no intention of getting rid of their boxes because they value the product itself more than the money that they're going to get. So of the half dozen to 12 boxes or whatever, what have you, of product that's available out there, right? Like, what does it take now? Like, what does this look like in the future? What does this look like going forward? What happens when someone else who has a virtually unlimited budget to go out and spend wants to go out and say, hey, I want base set booster box. Who do I talk to get it, right? What does that talk about? In the video, Chris mentions that he basically talked to a bunch of people. He reached out to some dealers in Dallas. Right, he spoke to a bunch of dealers. He said that he basically networked with a bunch of people. Some people went out and talked to other people to basically try and hunt down these boxes. And I think he said he made offers on 7 boxes. 1 box has been confirmed. 2 boxes he says 1 to 2 boxes are pending, kind of a maybe deal type thing. So these are all out there, right? But now that this is public, now that we know this happened, what does this do for the next box? And I think that some background on Chris, we were kind of talking about before, I think one of the things that he's responsible for, he's the CEO of Ticker Tags, and that's basically a company. It basically collects data, just tracking the buzz. And that's kind of what these guys are known for, Ticker Tags. They're basically tracking kind of the buzz, the pulse of what's happening on the internet, what's happening, what's moving, what direction is shifting, where people are trying to put their money, where is there an opportunity for investing. Because at the end of the day, smart investing is about finding opportunity. It's about finding a good place to park your money. Right? A lot of times, sometimes it falls on your lap. Sometimes it just walks through your door, right? You have someone that just wants to offload their collection and you find some gems in there. Sometimes, in the case of a lot of the people who have been in Pokemon for some time, we see prices just start popping up all over the place. So they're starting to do well, right? And sometimes, in the case of what these guys are doing, they're basically trying to follow the direction of the internet, what have you, just kind of the entity that is the internet. People seem to be trending towards this investment, towards this startup, towards this IPO, right? Towards these things that people deem to be worthy as an investment, because a lot of what goes on nowadays is hidden behind social media. And I mean hidden behind social media because we don't see a lot of things don't happen in the public spotlight anymore, right? A lot of it is going online. A lot of big personalities are really taking up and blowing up their social media just kind of on a completely different level than what we've seen before, because now people aren't, celebrities, they're no longer in the public spotlight, right? Assuming they're in quarantine, they're kind of living the same lockdown lives as the rest of us are, right? They've now taken to social media and really started to expand their influence, right? So that's why we see an increase in social media being consumed. There's more people have more time nowadays to spend on social media, looking at things like Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. People are watching YouTube streams more, Twitch streams more. Both of those have seen a huge surge in activity since the beginning of the pandemic, to no one's surprise. And Chris Camillo, Ticker Tags, right, dumbmoney.tv, these guys, they're basically just chasing this. They're basically chasing what all the hype is about. And I can only assume that that Chris, I think he does mention his video. I can't remember if that was that video or a different video that I watched earlier. He basically mentioned that the only reason he knew about this was because he heard down the line that Logan Paul had made this purchase. And then from there, he started to do his research. I imagine that was how they came about wanting to put their money into Collectors Universe, into the grading companies. And now this is them wanting to expand their foray into the Pokemon TCG and just looking at from that perspective. So it is important to note that one of the things he discusses is scarcity, right? We talked about 40 to 70 boxes out there, right? Whatever that number means. It could be more, it could be less, who knows? I don't think that's far off from the number. I have a hard time imagining that there's probably more than 100 sealed boxes out there in the world. That, in my mind, that's something that's pretty, that would be a pretty lofty number. It's possible, right? There could be a case in a warehouse somewhere, who knows? But I think that would be a pretty ambitious find. So I think 40 to 70, probably not an unreasonable number. I have a hard time believing that there's more than 100. But scarcity, right? He says of those boxes, 6 to 12, half dozen are maybe on the market to be sold, right? Trying to find people that have them, that want to sell them, and finding a price that you can buy them at, completely different things, right? Again, like he mentions, he uses influence. He reached out to a bunch of dealers, right, just to try and find the boxes, right? And then of those people that he found the boxes, he has to figure out, hey, can we make a deal work, right? I'm looking to pay this number. Obviously, someone who's holding on the box probably doesn't want to let it go for less than X amount, right? So he got for this price. So the next boxes I can only assume are going to be that price or more expensive. Not to mention the fact that he's busting these boxes. One thing he discussed is he's taking this box, he's opening it. He's basically destroying this box. The packs are going out. They're going out to 36 different people or whatever. And that box, it can't be put back together. That's one less booster box, first edition booster box, that exists in the world. And we're talking about something that is already pretty rare, pretty hard to find, and now the number just keeps dwindling down, right? Obviously, a lot of this is publicity. A lot of this is a big deal. A lot of this is just kind of for the sake of showboating, as it were, what have you. But at the end of the day, if you look at the numbers, this is a $375,000 box that is going to be broken up, sold. All the packs are going to be sold off. He says he's not keeping any of it for himself. He's not keeping any of the money for himself. This box, $375,000 box that's sealed, is going to be opened. The packs are going to be sold off, and this box is just gone. There's one less box that's in the world. That's one less sealed first edition box that exists in the world. That's one less box that will be able to be transacted in the future. And then these are people that simply will not have a box for sale in the future. The party that sold it, obviously, they're not going to own the box because they sold it to someone else. And this is an example where someone can buy this box, hold on to it, and then resell in the future because he's not keeping it sealed. He's breaking it apart, he's opening it, he's selling it. So I think this is a big deal. This is something that's going to be worth following. This is going to be simply another example of people putting their eyes onto the hobby, people just being aware of its existence, right? We have people, right? These three guys, they're investors. They put their money in anything. They put their money in whatever they think can make them money, right? These guys buy real estate. These guys buy cryptocurrency. It's all out there. They have a lot of interesting stuff out there. If you watch their videos, I plan on actually listening to more of them. I think they have a lot of good stuff, right? And now Pokemon is catching their eye, right? TCGs are catching their eye. Now they're starting to catch on that, man, they clearly think that money has to be made here. They actually go on to say that I think that this is actually a worthwhile investment. And this is something that is perfectly fine to spend your money on. So this is something that's worth following. I think he said that the transaction streamed live. I think it's going to happen sometime next week, in a week from now. So we'll have to see how it goes. I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that. I think this is really, really interesting stuff. I think the fact that, again, more money is going into this is only going to be a bigger and bigger and bigger deal going forward, and bringing in more and more people who again may not have heard of this, right? There's probably people that listen. You probably have types of people that, I have money, I'm looking to invest. I watch their stream, right? Like dumbmoney.tv. I watch their stream looking for ideas of what to invest. Now you have people that are going to see this that probably have deep pockets, that have the ability to invest a lot of money, and they're just going to be going out and thinking, okay, let's look at Pokemon. What's the big deal about it? How can I make money on this? And that's just going to draw more people in. And again, let's face this. Like, I think I mentioned this before. I don't think there is a single person in the world who is under the age of 50 that doesn't have some remote idea of what Pokemon is. Maybe you just think of like little monsters. Maybe all you know about Pokemon is like Pikachu, like this little like weird thing that runs around screaming its name, right? Like what have you. But I legitimately don't think there's a person out there under the age of 50 that doesn't know at least what Pokemon is. If some of these people listen to this video, if they see this video, if they hear, Chris, Dave, and Jordan talking about this, they're going to go out and start thinking, man, where can I put my money into Pokemon? Am I just walking to my game store and just like buying packs? Am I buying singles? Am I going online trying to buy base set booster boxes? Like, what's the deal? And again, this goes back to what I've said over and over. The more eyes that are put on this, the more money that goes into this, the more the market is going to grow, and the more it's going to ultimately benefit collectors, players, Nintendo, Pokemon, local game stores. The whole spectrum of people who are invested in Pokemon are going to perform well, and they will do well in the long term. I think this is something that is good for the game overall. So enough on that. This is something that we'll definitely revisit again in the future. Just kind of keep up, see what's going on. I do plan on watching the live stream and see how that kind of goes down. Right, this is something that's like, even if you don't have no real interest in this, at least the thought of it is very entertaining, right? You have a guy with like a suitcase of money, right? $375,000 kind of briefcase. And you have guys carrying around like a Pokemon box, and apparently like these two are equal in value somehow. So this can go down. It's going to be pretty interesting. We'll see how that goes. We'll follow up on that. But to kind of go back into the core of what we're talking about, right? One of the things that we want to look at is e-commerce, right? And social media, right? Like, how does this kind of all blend together? And I think in the context of social media, right, this is simply one part of it. If we look at the numbers, if we look at the Logan Paul video, his video of him opening up his base set booster box, right, which he sold off, that was a few weeks ago. He opened up the box, $11,000 a pack, right, sold it all off. So that amount on its own, right, 36 packs times $11,000, right, you have almost double the value of the box itself just on the pack sales. And this is a very, very public thing. If you watch that video, I just looked on this video right before this video as I was kind of writing up the outline. There are 9.2 million views on that YouTube video. And most people have heard of Logan Paul before, right? And but of 9.2 million viewers, 9.2 million people who have watched that video, or times that video has been watched, right? Even if we assume that there's people who watch the video multiple times, which I'm sure there are, so that's gonna knock down number some, and then of those people, right? There's probably a good portion of those people that don't actively own Pokemon cards, or don't currently own Pokemon cards, that can go back, dig up their old stuff, right? Stuff's gonna come out. People are gonna start selling this, right? How many Facebook posts have we seen? How much chatter have we heard? I found my old cards going through my stuff, right? Because this is incentivizing people to go out, dig up their old stuff, dig up their collectibles, and look at it now, because this stuff is worth money, right? There's a lot of money in this stuff. I could very well potentially be owning a first edition base set Charizard. It doesn't have to be clean, but that doesn't matter, because that first edition Charizard minimum is several $1,000s now. Even if it's completely destroyed, it's several $1,000s. And that's basically incentivizing people to go out, look at the stuff, dig it up, get people interested in the hobby again. And this is a big deal, right? This is the nature of social media. This is why social media shopping has become a thing. A lot of people have started to become sellers on Facebook, through the Facebook platforms, through Facebook Marketplace, right? We see a lot more stores popping up. And again, all this is just on the background of social media, and social media hyping it up. Logic, the rapper, we kind of talked about him. He bought the first edition PSA 10 Charizard not too long ago. He acquired that. He has 2.4 million followers on Twitter. He has pictures, like if you just look at his Twitter, a bunch of his recent posts are basically just him opening up product. He opened up Evolution's product not too long ago. That probably was what led to the spike in Evolutions. That was probably kind of the catalyst that set off. People saw it. People probably just Google the product, like Pokemon Evolutions box, and that probably encouraged some number of people to go and buy. You can't tell me that with 2.4 million followers on Twitter, of the people that follow him, of the people that engage with his media posts, with his social media posts, that these people aren't going out and being curious about it, right? We have, like, think of how foreign a concept that is. You have someone that is worth like millions and millions of dollars, right? He is right, he's a rapper, right? He's done well for himself. He is worth all the money in the world, apparently, whatever it is, right? And he's going out and he's enjoying Pokemon cards, right? Something that is very, very human. This is something that is very close, this is very relatable, right? This isn't like a first edition like base set booster box. This is something that came out like 21 years ago or whatever, 1999, right? Evolutions, this came out 4 years ago, right? This is something that you can still buy today. There's no shortage of people who have boxes for sale now, that have held on to them for whatever time, right? So those 2.4 million followers, people that followed him, people that see the stuff come up on their feed, right? They're all of a sudden some number, no matter how much you want to fracture it down, no matter how much you want to chop it down, and think that, okay, 2.4 million followers, right? Let's say like a small fraction of that sees the tweet, and a small fraction of that hasn't engaged in Pokemon before. Now they're going out, right? And then a small fraction of that actually looks at the stuff, reviews the stuff, actually goes out and buys the stuff, right? And then now you basically so like, even no matter how many times you cut it down, even a small fraction is probably still a substantial number of people that are now putting their money into the hobby, into the industry, and looking at Pokemon in a completely different light, right? I think seeing this, the fact that he streams this, right? Logic streams the stuff. He has a picture of his kid just chewing on his PSA 10 Charizard. It's inside a plastic case. There's the sealed card sleeve over it, so like it's not actually damaging it, right? But you see the stuff on his tweet, on his Twitter, and you see him tweet about the stuff, and stream the stuff. And all it's doing is just drawing more attention and more eyes, more visibility, right? Just kind of, it's just going to benefit everyone. Rising tide raises all boats. So that's going to be something beneficial for everyone in the long term. This is not something that's small either, right? Social media, the fact that it's becoming more and more prevalent in our everyday lives, right? More and more people have access to Facebook, to Instagram, to Twitter, in some capacity, in some capacity, it's hard to not follow what's happening in the world around us, from big things, right? We have politicians, right? Big names that are tweeting about, policy change, what they're doing, right? And a lot of times it's coming down to very, very mundane things. On Twitter, and right, I think it's important because it gives a lot of these people a sense of humanity, right? And like, I think fundamentally the fact that even though some of these politicians, celebrities, what have you, may seem very, very far off in our world, seeing them on Twitter, seeing them on Facebook, on their pages, right, seeing them on Instagram, it creates a level of humanity that I think is valuable. I think it is something that is important to us because it basically allows us to connect with them in some sense. And seeing people like Logan Paul, like Logic, like all these big names that are putting their money is really just expanding the influence of Pokemon, is expanding the influence of collectibles in a way that we haven't really seen before. And I think the pandemic has only helped accelerate this process. If you look at an article, this was something that was published very recently on August 29th of this year, right? So almost 2 months ago now. CNBC, there's an article, how Facebook Marketplace replaced Craigslist during my move. And this basically is a reporter, they basically discussed how they used the Facebook Marketplace, which I'm sure is something as many of us are familiar with, to basically help funnel their move and basically help them sell their stuff that they don't do, right? This is something that we've done before, right? Moving, right? What do? Garage sale, give away stuff, Facebook Marketplace, find people that want to buy our old stuff that we just don't want to take with us. On the flip side, Facebook Marketplace, right? We look around. If we want to buy something, we don't want to buy something new, right? I can go on Facebook and find, man, I just want like a pair of skis for the upcoming winter season, right? Now's a good time to buy them. Who has used skis for sale because they don't ski anymore, because they have a knee injury, what have you, right? This is something that's becoming more and more prevalent. More and more people are using Facebook Marketplace, using these online platforms, using Twitter, using Instagram, using Facebook as ways to conduct their business. It's simply another element of buying and selling that has really become more and more ingrained into what we do versus before, where a lot of this stuff was foreign, right? If we look at in 2018, Mark Zuckerberg in a public showing, he basically said that Facebook Marketplace has 800 million users in 70 countries around the world. People are using this. Everyday people are using this to buy and sell things, not just collectibles, not just Pokemon cards, Magic cards. People use this to do everything. People buy and sell cars on the Facebook Marketplace, right? This is basically a way to connect people on a much, much larger scale in a way that's never been accessible before, right? You think about kind of an old-fashioned way of selling, like, if you want to sell your car, for example, what do? You either you put a for sale sign in your car, you drive around with a phone number, hope that someone who's behind you sees your number and is in the market for your vehicle. You can take your car with this for sale sign, you park it somewhere, hope that people drive by, think that, man, I want to buy this vehicle, right? Let me write down their number and then give them a call. Right? These are all ways that people have tried to sell things before, like selling a car, right? People put ads in newspapers, right? But now it's becoming digital. It's all going online. Facebook Marketplace is really something that has just completely opened this up. And it's one of those tools that a lot of times we give Facebook a lot of crap for doing things that just doesn't pan out, which is true, right? They have a lot of things that don't pan out for them. But Marketplace is one of those things that has endured. It's used by a lot of people in a lot of capacity on a big scale. People have been able to buy and sell things in a way that they haven't before. It's basically keeping things local. You basically find better deals. Sometimes you don't necessarily want to buy things that are new. So it's worth going on Facebook Marketplace, typing in, skis, and seeing what comes up. And this is something that has really, again, opened up what buying and selling means to most people. Right? Doing things like estate sales, garage sale, right? These are things that still happen, but Facebook Marketplace has really taken away kind of that level of uncertainty and made it very, very easy and very, very accessible, right? A lot of people have used Craigslist before to buy and sell things. I've definitely used Craigslist to buy collections, to sell stuff to people. Something that's happened before, and it's worth looking at, again, because I think just how prevalent it is, right? The prevalence of social media, right? We have celebrities at the top end buying and selling things, streaming things, right? Making their transactions public, right? This is something that people can follow, all the way down to people like you and myself. A simple matter of logging onto Facebook, seeing what's out there. And a lot of people have started to pick up small businesses. A lot of people have looked at flipping things, right? Just buying things for cheap, being able to sell it to someone else for a higher price because they found it at a discount through Facebook Marketplace, what have you. All this is made possible by how prevalent social media has become, how pervasive it has become in our society, how mainstream it has become. Right? It's hard to imagine like people that just don't have Facebook anymore, or at least social media in some capacity, in the sense that now people are using it to connect with people. A lot of my relatives have it, like my parents have it, right? This isn't something that's foreign anymore. This is something that it's like, what's your Facebook, right? Like, what's your Twitter account, right? These are things that are becoming very mainstream, and social media shopping is also becoming very mainstream. You see no shortage of sellers that buy and sell through their Instagram, through their Twitter account, as ways of people just you basically have the world at your fingertips at this point, right? You look at a newspaper ad, you have to find someone who is going to actually look through the classified ads and thumb and think, man, I want to buy a car, I want to buy whatever these things people have for sale. You look at Craigslist, right? Now you're kind of localized, right? People want to meet in person, which is something that will never go away. And now we're taking that one step further. Now with Facebook Marketplace, you can pay, you can expand the scope of how many people see your ad. And now you could be connected with hundreds of thousands, right? Tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people that see your ad and are able to interact with you now through Facebook Marketplace. And I think that is a big deal going forward. And I think that is something, again, with the nature of the pandemic, is just going to permanently change how these kind of social media shopping interactions work. Just to kind of further tie that in, e-commerce, right? E-commerce is something that has really exploded as well. On February 14th, 2019, right, a year and a half ago, Shopify, platform for people to sell goods, right? You basically make up your own website, you make up your own online store, people go there, people shop, people buy, kind of as an alternative to something like eBay, where you have another, you're basically using another website, right? eBay in this case, or TCG Player, what have you, using their platform, using their services, and they basically take a fee. Where Shopify, all you do is you pay a monthly subscription. You basically set up your shop however you want, list whatever items you want, and you sell. They reported that they wrote an article on kind of the global trends of e-commerce. If you want to find this, the title is Global E-commerce Statistics and Trends to Launch Your Business Beyond Borders. This was last year. This is 2019. So this was pre-COVID, right? This is prior to kind of all things going crazy this year. They reported that in 2014, worldwide e-commerce sales $1.3 trillion. In 4 years' time, that worldwide statistic, it doubled. The total sales via e-commerce worldwide, $2.8 trillion. And last year, they had projected that it would reach $4.1 trillion in 2020. Again, before pandemic, we know how much this has changed. In July 16th of this year, Business Insider, I think I discussed this article before, the growth of e-commerce has been huge this year. Year over year, April, May, they saw roughly 23% growth. So year over year means comparing April 2020 to April 2019. And year over year is how the prices have the price, sales number, whatever have you, have changed since then. So April and May, they saw a 23% growth over the last year, and then in June, they saw a 31% growth in e-commerce, right? So online sales via any online platform, right? Amazon, Walmart, Target, right? People are eating out via platforms like Grubhub, like Uber Eats, right? These are becoming very, very commonplace for people. And one of the things they report is the top games in e-commerce, right? So the things that have started to sell much, much more in e-commerce are gaming up 70% and retail 68%. The things that lost most heavily, not surprising, travel is down 29%, ticketing is down 94%, right? No surprise, people aren't going out, people aren't taking trips, people aren't going to concerts, music events, right? Things because there's just no gathering, right? So most of those lost big, but gaming up 70%, retail up 68%. That really goes to show how much people are pushing for things that don't require them to go buy in person. A lot of people are looking at buying online, right? This isn't something that's foreign, right? We kind of scoff at this. We think that, wow, this is becoming pretty mainstream. Again, most people in my demographic, right? I'm 31, right? Most people our age, 20s, 30s, online shopping is something that is commonplace, right? I can't remember, I've been buying stuff online for who knows how long now. I can't, like, probably like 20 plus years. Ever since like the early days of the internet, where people like things like eBay were just mainstream, and people would just go online on eBay and buy things that would just show up at your door later. Right? So none of this is a surprise, right? It shouldn't surprise me. A lot of people have started to warm up to the concept. People who haven't done this before are warming up to the concept of buying online isn't really that foreign. A lot of people seem to think, well, what happens if I don't like it? Well, a lot of places offer you a fairly painless way to return your item, right? E-commerce has just become so prevalent, and the way the industry is headed, not just the collectibles industry, right? Not just for retail game stores, but shifting your ability to buy and sell online has probably changed the face, and it will completely change the face of the industry, in the sense that people who are able to stay ahead of the curve, people who are able to aggressively buy and sell online, will do very well. And this is no surprise, right? We can't go out. We can't. People aren't actively looking to play in local game stores. Having events just not really feasible. A lot of stores don't even have buying and selling in person. Rusty Hunt, right? NRG. We had him on as an interview at one point. He had discussed that, right? He plans on keeping his store, his brick and mortar store, closed for the rest of 2020, right? For the remaining 2.5, 3 months of the year. And this is during a time when traditionally retail has had the best sales during this time, right? That's why Black Friday exists, because people usually kind of capture that wave, that retail wave, through the holidays, starting in beginning of November through Black Friday, and it kind of carries them through the holiday season. And this is something that, for the stores that are able to do this, for stores that have the infrastructure set up, for the stores that have the ability to be buying and selling online, this is a big deal for them. Because I don't think this is something that's going to go away. Even after the pandemic dies down, once people realize the simplicity of buying and selling online, this isn't something that's going to go away for people. A lot of times I buy on Amazon simply out of convenience. If I need office supplies, in which theory I usually shouldn't, because I usually keep a small backstock on things, so I don't ever need to deal with it, I can afford to buy and have it take a week or two through Amazon Business for it to come, if I don't get through Prime or whatever. There's really no reason for me to go to like an Office Depot or Staples to be buying these supplies anymore. Because I actively want to avoid the interaction with people. If I can avoid, I don't need to go out and expose myself if I don't want to. And two, the simplicity, right? The time I save by just placing an order, I can just find the SKUs I want, right? Amazon Business, they actually save my previous orders. I'm usually buying the same things over and over and over and over again. I can buy this online, and it just saves me time from having to go out and deal with the transaction in person, right? And this kind of scales on all levels, right? Food being delivered to you is becoming more and more affordable than ever. More and more people are doing it than ever before. Right? We see restaurants closing at record levels because they can't afford to stay open, because they're not getting enough foot traffic going in, because either they've had to space out their restaurant in such a way where they can only accommodate less people, and when you have more people who are reluctant to go out, people who are wanting to spend money going out eating in, when they can just press a few buttons and have the food show up at their door an hour later. Right, this is something that is, again, becoming more and more commonplace. Black Friday, right? We had an episode kind of discussing retail and kind of what's to come, right? Black Friday deals are already happening. Amazon Prime, that was a week ago. or Amazon Prime Day on Amazon was a week ago. That already happened. I can only imagine how much money Amazon made on that day. They already have their holiday dash deals going, right? We see deals, right? They have a holiday banner on their website, and these are things that they're basically just having just deals constantly across the board for everything. And this is something that they want to continue, right? Because again, they're such a huge online, they have such a huge online presence that there's no real reason for people to slow down. Sales may be worse for them overall, which does seem to be the trend. A lot of places do seem to report that even though online e-commerce is up, a lot more people are doing their shopping online, their sales numbers are still less than before, right? We have the current situation, right? Unemployment rates are so high, a lot of people just can't afford to be spending their excess money. So sales are down, but being able to maximize your e-commerce platform, being able to maximize your online sales, your online reach is how you're going to really get ahead in this, and how you're going to stay ahead, especially from your other competitors who may not be set up to do online sales, who may not have procedures in place, who may not know how to be shipping out affordably, right? These are all things that if you have this in place, you will stay ahead. You will stay ahead, and then when things return to normal, even if we start to see people return, people start to feel comfortable with going out, doing shopping again, gathering in places, gathering in restaurants, going to stores to play in events. This e-commerce, the concept of e-commerce is something that's here to stay. Being able to capitalize on it, again, I think is a big deal going forward. That's something I think as a store, as a retailer, as a small business, you should be putting as much effort into as you can while you don't actively have to think about in-store, about having to deal with things in store, having to deal with in-store events, in-store transactions. You should be maximizing your online presence. And I think this is something that will pay off in dividends for you in the long run. Just kind of going back to online, just kind of anticipation of Black Friday, right? Best Buy and Target, they're already doing it. They're kind of already unveiling deals, right? Walmart, the same thing. These places, they offer price guarantees on their deals. They want you to buy from them. And they have a guarantee in place. If you find a better deal on that same item somewhere else through a Black Friday sale or something for the remainder of the season, they'll honor that price. They will give you a refund for the price difference. That goes to show how much these retailers need the business, need these sales that happen online, because you can only imagine how much foot traffic is down, how much less people are wanting to go out and buy and interact in person, right, when they could be doing online instead. And then because online, right, if you drive somewhere, if you want to go somewhere, right, usually you have a place in mind. You're like, I'm going to drive, I'm going to go to Best Buy, I'm going to shop computers, for example. Now, instead of, if you go to Best Buy and you see a computer, there's a very, very high chance, statistics have shown that most people will buy from the first place that they enter. That's why if you go to like malls, for example, if you ever looked at trying to get retail locations inside malls, all the premium locations inside malls are towards the front of the mall, towards where the entrances are, towards places that will naturally have the most foot traffic. Because they know that it doesn't matter if some guy at the back of the mall, some guy down the hallway or something, it doesn't matter if he's a better seller, he has better prices. If people walk by me first and they see, man, I'm in the market for a computer, and they walk in to that store, they're just going to buy from me. They're not going to keep walking and trying to see what's going on down the hall if I have the thing they're looking for here. And now with the advent of e-commerce, right? This makes me seem silly, right? I feel like this is obvious, but a lot of people don't really understand the impact of e-commerce and how big a deal it is. Now, right at home, I can sit here. If I want to buy a computer, I can bring up Best Buy, I can bring up Amazon, I can bring up Apple, right? I can bring up Dell, I can bring up HP, I can bring up all these places, Staples, Office Depot, at my tooltips. I can just enter what I need, I can compare, and if I see something I like, right, I'll order it, and it'll be here 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 1 week even, right, depending on who you order through. It'll be here, it'll be ready for me, and I don't even have to leave my house, and I can compare. But for Best Buy, right, if they know that if you're going to come into your store and you look around and you see something you like and you buy it, that ability to sell you the item is gone. They have to rely on their online sales, their website, right, to make that transaction that they would have made in store, and now online they have so much more competition. Now they're competing with every other website that sells computers out there, and they know that unless they offer something that is a big deal, right? That's why this price guarantee is in place. They know that they just want you to buy from them. It doesn't matter if they have to give you a refund. Not everyone that sees a better deal out there is necessarily going to fight for that refund anyways, right? They know that if they can get you hooked, if they can get you buying their product, that's all they care about. And that's why e-commerce is becoming so mainstream that I think, again, I keep repeating this, and I really want people to take heed of this. I think that if you have the opportunity now to do so, invest in a website, invest in your e-commerce platform, because going forward, this is something that will pay you dividends, because the pandemic is unlikely to go away anytime soon. And I think being able to weather a storm, being able to ensure that you get a steady stream of sales online is going to be important. Is going to be a big deal. Is going to be something that is a buffer. So even if the pandemic ends like tomorrow, for example, and life does go back to normal, it's still going to be a completely different ballgame, and it doesn't hurt. Having an online sales platform in place, having people there that are willing to have your website set up, be able to conduct sales online, being able to automate a lot of this process isn't going to hurt you. It's not like if things go back to normal, your e-commerce platform is going to shut down. Because, right, data shows that e-commerce is here to stay. It's going to be something that will only continue to grow in the future, right? We kind of tie all this together. We look at this. We look at the prevalence of social media. We look at what these big names, what these celebrities, what these people are doing, what they're spending their money on, where their attention is drawn on social media, right? Facebook Marketplace growing, people selling stuff on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook growing, right? Competing with online sales, e-commerce platforms, right? Websites, right? We look at some of the titans in our industry, right? Card Kingdom, Star City, Channel Fireball, TCG Player, right? They're all online. You can only imagine that their online presence, their online sales just completely dwarfs their physical presence if they have one at all. Card Kingdom, they have 2 locations, right? Mox Boarding House in Seattle, they have 2 places. There's one in Portland now that I've actually yet to visit. I've actually been meaning to visit it. They have 3 places. I imagine that is what they do in store is going to be a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction of what goes online, of what happens online, of sales they do through Card Kingdom, right? Same deal with Star City. I've been to the Star City tournament center in Roanoke, Virginia. Again, tiny compared to whatever they do online. Same deal with Channel Fireball. All these places have the presence of mind to grow, and they've probably grown as big as they have because of how good their retail presence is online. We combine all this together, right? Like social media, if you're selling on there, like have a presence, right? Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, have that following, have that group of people that follow you, that buy from you. If you're a retailer, if you're a small business, right? Use your abilities, use your resources, set up the online platform. If you're an investor, if you're a collector, right? Use your resources. Go out there, find people that are selling these things, establish a relationship with them. If you want things for cheap, right? There's always going to be people out there who are concerned about selling, who want to make sure that their bottom line is met, who are trying to get deals, right? Establish a relationship. Go online, find these retailers. You're probably not going to find one with a big store, but go out there and look on Twitter, see who's doing sales on Twitter, look on social media, look on Instagram. I've definitely bought stuff on Instagram. I've bought stuff on Twitter. I've bought stuff on Facebook before. There's a lot of people out there that are looking to make sales, and using the opportunity, being able to bridge the gap, being able to bridge all these together, right? Trying to figure out how social media, trying to figure out how e-commerce works, right? Trying to use them together, intertwine them together, and find something that works for you is going to grow your business, right? If you're a retail store, it's going to grow your business. If you're an individual, right, this opens up all these new avenues for you to be buying and selling and transacting. If you're investing, right, it doesn't matter because having more connections available, you don't know who's out there. You don't know what kind of person you can establish a relationship with that will help you get what you want, get what you need in terms, right? It doesn't matter if you're trying to buy a first edition booster box based at booster box, right? Being able to network, being able to go out, being able to find these personalities, being able to find these people, being able to find these content creators is going to help in the long run when you're trying to find something. And that's the reality of where we are in 2020. That's going to be reality of where we are in going into 2021 and beyond, is how prevalent e-commerce is, how prevalent social media is. Being able to buy and sell online is really going to be the future of the collectible industry and what we do going forward. So with that said, as always, that's kind of a wrap on today's episode. I know there's a lot to cover, went through a lot of things. As always, people can find me on Twitter at Edwin13. More than happy to discuss anything I've talked about in this episode with people. Open conversation, right? Have a chat, talk about whatever you want. So on Twitter, people find me there. People can find the social media sites for Vermilion on the right. There's a lot to talk about. I really try and keep this channel relevant to the things that people are interested in, people want to discuss. And really just kind of where I am in terms of investing, what I buy, what I sell, etc. So as always, thank you for listening. We'll be back here tomorrow with another episode. Thanks again.